You ever see a teenager thrown in cuffs for wearing shorts on a hot Carolina afternoon? Yeah, that happened right in front of my house with half the neighborhood watching, too stunned or too scared to step in. Cynthia Bellamy, our HOA president, self-proclaimed queen of the cul-de-sac, stood there in her designer shades giving orders like she was running a military operation. Two officers shoved my niece Ava up against a patrol car, the metal booming so loud you could feel it in your chest. Cynthia grinned, not a flicker of doubt, like she'd just won a bet nobody else knew was happening. Public indecency, she said, waving her French manicure at Ava's shorts like she'd uncovered a felony. But Cynthia had no clue what I was holding in my back pocket. Those officers' body cams, I said, real quiet, locking eyes with her. Still streaming straight to the county's oversight server. Live. The color drained a bit from her face, but she played it off people like Cynthia always do. See, this wasn't my first dance with overreach and intimidation. I'm Daniel Mercer, a systems engineer, the kind who designed the firmware for those SWAT cams before moving back home to take care of Ava after my sister Rachel passed. Cynthia thought I was just another quiet uncle and nobody, but this neighborhood, these trees, this house. It's the last place Rachel took a real walk before cancer got the best of her. She made me promise I'd watch over Ava and keep the house standing no matter what battles came. And now I'm watching my niece get humiliated for wearing shorts. That promise burned hotter than any threat Cynthia could throw at me. Neighbors froze on their lawns, some filming, some pretending not to notice, all of them paralyzed by Cynthia's brand of power. Her reign was built on fear fines for flags, threats about mailbox paint notices for lawn chairs left out overnight. Nobody wanted to be next, so everyone kept their heads down. But every sound, Ava's scream, the scrape of her skin on metal, the idle growl of the patrol car burned into me. This was no accident. This was staged. Cynthia loved a show, and humiliation was her favorite weapon. But the very tech she used for muscle. It was built to catch people like her. My skills, my years of seeing how systems can both protect and betray. They were the only shot Ava had at walking away with her dignity intact. Rachel's last words echoed in my mind. Keep her safe. Don't let them break her spirit. The cuffs clacked shut. Cynthia folded her arms chin high like she was leading a parade. This community has standards. She boomed, every word aimed at her captive audience. The cops hesitated just a beat, double-checking the camera on their shoulder. I knew that feed was streaming live straight into county oversight. Every second preserved Cynthia's show, archived forever. She hadn't caught on yet, but the stage she loved was about to turn on her. Ava, stunned and pale, got shoved in the back seat. The patrol car rolled away. Cynthia turned to me. Maybe you'll think twice before ignoring board directives. She strutted back to the HOA office, her little fortress at the end of the street, blinds always drawn, fear built into every brick. I followed, didn't go inside, just close enough to see the line of neighbors waiting, clutching violation slips, property lien notices. Cynthia didn't need walls. She built her kingdom out of fear and paperwork. That's when I spotted Terrell Gaines, the HOA maintenance guy, clipboard in hand, eyes flickering with something he didn't dare say. He wasn't Cynthia's puppet, not exactly. The guy knew which cameras worked, which pipes leaked, which bylaws made sense and which didn't. Loyalty and conscience had been wrestling in his chest for years, but today his jaw was tight. He turned away when I caught his eye. That detail, I tucked it away. Back at home, I sat under Rachel's oak tree and fired up my laptop. Didn't have to hack a thing, still had my old city contractor credentials. Accessed the oversight portal. There was Ava's arrest raw and uncut. Downloaded it straight to a secure drive. Cynthia's weapon narrative control staged photo selective enforcement couldn't spin this. Unfiltered video, her fingerprints on the disaster. This wasn't personal anymore. It was the first crack in her armor. Evening fell. Porch lights clicked on, neighbors whispered. Tension hummed under everything. Ava was gone, and the promise I'd made to Rachel felt heavier than ever. I realized then I couldn't just protect her. I had to dismantle Cynthia's stage piece by piece with the same focus I used to debug broken networks. The system Cynthia relied on was about to become the trap door under her feet. That night, Ava's empty chair gnawed at me. Evidence alone doesn't change anything people do. Terrell's troubled face stuck with me. His conscience was louder than his words, and maybe, just maybe, it would become the tipping point. The next morning, I found Terrell by the community pool. Cynthia hated that place, too communal, too full of real people. He was fixing a pump, hands tight on the wrench jaw, working overtime. I greeted him casual. His clipboard trembled. He caught me noticing the misaligned security cam on the gate. Anyone with training could see it was pointed the wrong way. For a moment, our eyes locked. He looked away, rubbing his neck. He knew things weren't right. His loyalty was fraying. I knelt by the pump, spoke low, just the two of us and the splash of kids in the pool. "I saw what happened yesterday," I said. The wrench slipped in his grip, clanked against the pipe. Sweat pooled on his brow. His eyes darted to the broken camera. He wanted to speak, but the risk was too big. I didn't push. "If you ever decide you've had enough, you know where I live." His pen hovered mid-check on the clipboard. When I walked away, I felt his gaze. Cracks were spreading in Cynthia's machine. By evening, Cynthia had taped a violation slip to my front door. Failure to maintain approved community image, her code for "I'm watching you." She listed Rachel's oak tree as a hazard, the same tree where Rachel carved her initials as a kid. My sister's memorial reduced to a violation. I tore the slip down and headed for the HOA clubhouse, a model home gone to seed hedges cut sharp as knives. Inside, homeowners sat across from Cynthia, waiting for judgment like school kids in the principal's office. Cynthia, in her red blazer and shades, controlled every word, every glance, every paper. I held up the violation slip. "Your roots run deep, Cynthia, but this tree isn't yours to cut." She smirked. "It's not personal, just standards. You'll need board approval, and the board disagrees." The board were homeowners, not members, just more hostages in her little play. I watched her, saw her grip tighten on her pen. Small crack, but there. After the meeting, I passed Terrell at the side door. His knuckles were white on his clipboard. I stepped into the dusk, feeling the shift. Cynthia had escalated. That meant I would too. Powered up my workstation, checked the oversight portal, and there it was, a command override issued not by county, but from the HOA's own network. Cynthia, or someone acting for her, had hijacked law enforcement for her personal vendetta. That was no community standard. That was criminal. I copied the evidence, encrypted it, and waited. Needed more than data. Needed testimony, someone from inside. Terrell's face again kept me from sleeping. Next morning found him in the maintenance shed, surrounded by tools. Tension rolling off him like summer heat. "This isn't gossip," I said, holding up a flash drive. "It's data. Your board president issued an unauthorized command override from inside this HOA." His hand shook. He pressed both hands over his face, then slumped against the workbench. Silence heavy as stone. "You already knew," I said. His eyes flicked up, wounded. "They told me it was protocol," he said, disgust twisting his words. "But protocol doesn't look like that." I put the drive on the bench. "You keep covering for her, you're part of it. You step forward, you help stop it." His fingers trembled but didn't take it. "She'll ruin me," he whispered. "She already is," I said. "Today it's Ava. Tomorrow, maybe your family." He didn't answer, but the drive stayed put. I left sun burning through the haze, kids yelling at the courts, and I realized Cynthia's power depended on silence. But I'd cracked her command chain, and Terrell was caught in the middle. As I walked home, neighbors glanced at me, some uncertain, some with a flicker of hope. The uniform mailboxes and perfect lawns meant nothing anymore. The oak tree swayed in the breeze when I got back, roots versus concrete, legacy versus control. That evening, a knock at my door. Terrell, sweaty, nervous, clutching his clipboard like a shield. "Mind if I step in?" he muttered. He hovered by the window, voice, tight hands, restless. "I saw the override," he said, voice breaking. "Didn't issue it, but I was in the room. She called it a compliance shortcut. Been doing it for months. Small things, big things. Yesterday was too much. His hands shook as he handed me a notepad, pages filled with dates and times. She used the same terminal. Password was her birthday. This was the missing link, proof that the override was hers. He didn't stay long. If she knows I talked, I'm finished. I squeezed his shoulder. You did the right thing. When he left, I sat under Rachel's oak tree, turning his notes in my hand, hope rising for the first time since Ava's arrest. The next morning, I took everything to the county library neutral ground. Matched Terrell's notes with the oversight logs, built a packet, video logs his testimony. Every override tied to Cynthia's terminal, every incident a piece of her control. But how to release it quietly to the county, and Cynthia might bury it publicly at the next board meeting in front of everyone she'd ever threatened. That was the only way. I set up at the community park, open neutral, Rachel's favorite place. Laptop out, video looping logs, displayed neighbors drifting closer, whispering, remembering. She had my son ticketed last spring. One woman muttered. It wasn't bad luck, I said. It was her. Soon a crowd had formed, passing around violation slips, recognizing the pattern. Terrell stood at the edge, gave a shaky nod enough to tip the crowd into action. They started asking, can we remove her? What if the county ignores this? What now? I told the truth. This evidence isn't just for the county, it's for us. When the board meeting starts, I'll bring it forward, but I need you there to witness. By the time the board meeting rolled around, the HOA clubhouse overflowed. Cynthia sat at the head of the table, red blazer hair, perfect every inch the monarch. I waited until new business. I have evidence to present, I said, voice steady, pulse racing. Projected the footage. Ava's arrest metadata, rolling override logs, Terrell's notes. Cynthia's face went white. Terrell stood. She told me it was protocol. It wasn't. She's been using law enforcement as her personal hammer. The crowd erupted. Shouts, demands, years of frustration boiling over. Cynthia tried to shout them down, but her power was gone. The board moved to suspend her neighbors, cheered, hugged, spilled into the parking lot, clutching violation slips like trophies. Ava came running free at last, her arms around my waist, light back in her eyes. Under the moon, we gathered by Rachel's oak tree, neighbors, friends, survivors. The projector cast the footage one last time, not to shame Cynthia, but to remind us what we'd survived together. The silence afterward wasn't heavy anymore. It was solid, like roots growing deeper. People pledged to audit every old decision, to hold real elections. Cynthia's system was done for, and the neighborhood was ours again. You want more stories of people standing up to HOA tyranny? Hit subscribe, share your own stories in the comments, and tell me, what does justice look like where you live?